San Diego.
It's the greatest city in the history of mankind. It's a fact.
Two local San Diegans that look at obstacles as an opportunity for growth.
If you don't fail, you're not even trying.
Michael Carini is the Acrylic Alchemist.
You can call me CEO
of Carini Arts. And Vicente, Vinnie, Enriquez.
No one could do it better.
The team lead of the Enriquez group.
Ride with us.
Hi, you sunny side of San Diego listeners. Today, our topic is why. I mean, it's just simply why. Easy. Why? What's your why? Why do you do this kind of stuff? I mean, how this kind of works when we put kind of our subject lines together is sometimes Carini has an idea that he's passionate about. Sometimes I have an idea I'm passionate about. And sometimes it's just like in the moment trying to figure out what should we talk about? And I was just one of those ruts the other day. And I was just thinking about, I was like, why? I mean, why? It's just that simple. So that's kind of what, I wanted to jump in on. I mean, I think the idea of just everything we've talked about before is like, okay, why do you post on social media? Why do you wake up? Why do you basically work out? Why do you do this? And it's just like everything you're doing, you're figuring out what's that why behind there? What's the reason behind there? And I think we recently talked about one like this where we're just like, why can't we just eat a big bag of Doritos and just lay on the bed and watch Netflix, right? And you're just like, God dang, man. I'm pretty consistent. I know you are, Carini, about basically posting on social media, right? Constantly posting on social media and engagements with followers. And I mean, I do the same thing, and maybe not to the level that you're doing it, but I'm still posting. And the other day I was just like, gosh, dang, why am I doing this? And so I had to take a step back, and I just kind of did something else. And then I got back into it a little bit later, and I saw a couple of positive posts and things like that. But I mean, you have to engage with basically your follow, your friends, your Facebook group, social media, Twitter group, whatever it might be. And it was a second there that I was just like, oh gosh, why?
It's a valid question for anything and everything in life. And then not only do I ask myself that question, I oftentimes audibly scream that question. Why? Like, why? Like, why is this happening? And I've been thinking about it lately. And I think that if we do stop to think about why for anything and everything, it can really help change our perspective. And I've been in a place lately where I've been needing to shift my perspective on a number of things. And it was stopping and asking the question why that made the difference. Now, going into your question of why in regards to social media, it's funny because your why was why you should continue doing it. Now, when I asked the question why about that, my why was why I should back off doing it, because it was running me thin, because there was a lot of negative feedback. And even though I'll continue to post, I don't need to invest that level of time and emotion into it that I was. So my why is why I should back off, why I should focus on other things, why I should learn to let those things go a little bit more.
And I think that always because of balancing that, because I mean, we're our own bosses in essence for both our businesses. And we put together a structure of what provides us business and what helps our business grow, right? And so the things we do, sometimes you don't know the full effects of it. Like, yes, if you're getting direct business off in like a click purchase, right, for one of your artworks, you can say, okay, well, this was maybe from this ad. I got this business off of that, and that's why this all happened, right? Yet, if most of my stuff that I do on social media, I mean, it's mostly branding purposes, and it's not a direct correlation to the deal. I mean, where I can quantify, okay, well, I got this deal off of this thing. Where, I mean, I might hear later where a client's like, oh my gosh, I saw your piece, and that, you know what I mean, and then in essence, that's what reminded me to send over my friend to your company, all right? So it's like, okay, well, then it reaffirms it a little bit, but you're like, okay, well, what piece was that, and how consistent do I have to do it to basically reaffirm the branding aspect of it? Am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? You know, so it becomes like constant, like, this is the system I put in place. This is why I have to kind of follow it. But sometimes you just still want to say, why? Like, yeah.
It's interesting you say that, and it's interesting your perception of that too, because I used to think the same thing. I think a lot of people do think that when it comes to artwork, and there are definitely a few people that will buy on impulse or be like, hey, I want that, and they'll just claim it and click and purchase. But when I think about why, over the years, I've had to realize that it is much more about what you're doing. It's much more about building the brand. It's about building the comfort, the consistency. Because I find that a lot less people actually do make the impulse purchases, particularly in the age that we live in. Yeah, some people will do so, but I think a lot of people coming off of this period that we've been in, they want to have that serotonin boost of buying something perhaps, but I don't know that it's as frivolous with purchases such as art, even though art is very important, I would argue, and I can make my arguments as to why I think that. But yeah, it's much more about just getting in front of people, showing them the consistency so that they have a better reason why to support you, to show that, hey, I'm the community artist, I'm the independent artist, I have a story that goes with my work, I'm trying to give back, I'm trying to take care of things, I'm doing other things like the podcast, I'm doing things like the little charity program that I put together, the blog, all that stuff. And I have to remind myself why I'm doing that a lot of times, because it does start to build up. And anytime you're doing something worthwhile, it's going to get overwhelming, and you're going to have to remember why you're doing it, because it's going to get exhausting at times.
Yeah. I mean, it's and you have to be consistent with it. You have to be consistent with it. I mean, if it's working out, if it's doing the podcast, if it's doing, whatever kind of, prospecting, whatever it might be, it's being consistent about it and having faith in what you're looking to accomplish, and saying why is because I told myself this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to succeed.
I think that's a big thing for me too, is doing things because I say that I'm going to do them, the accountability thing. So a lot of times that's the why for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there's always that opportunity cost too, right? Where you're saying, okay, well, why am I doing this when I could be doing that? Well, this one's going to cost me more money, but it's going to be easier. This one's going to be less expensive, but it's going to take more of my time. I mean, it's like the opportunity cost of everything. Or, hey, this right here seems like it could be a great opportunity. They sold it to me as a great opportunity, but is it actually going to be that opportunity? And so it's figuring out, questioning everything, but then also having faith when you make that assertion that you're going that direction. And that, I think, is, separates, is it kind of, okay, I'm questioning why I'm doing this, but now I know I'm doing this. I'm going to go forward and not look back. And after 5 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it might be, go, okay, now let me reassess what I'm doing. Do I have to change my plan?
Yeah, and I think that there are definitely people that jump right into things, and there are people that think about the bigger picture, the consequences, the people that ask a million questions about every little thing. I was placing an order for some stickers the other day for my business, and it was something that I decided to just spur of the moment do. And then once I started doing it, that other side of me kicked in, and I was asking a million questions of, oh, okay, well, what about this size versus this size? Is there another option that's more cost effective or makes more sense because it's catalog price? What about the lining size? Is the lining going to add to the size because is it still going to fit in the envelope? Should I do a split run where I do 5 different designs? How many should I do of each one? So what started off as a very like, hey, I'm going to order some stickers today, turned into a much bigger question. Now, part of the reason why was because of the level of investment. So when you're investing more time, when you're investing more money, I think it's important to ask those questions. And I think that the whys of relationships are important too. I was having a conversation with Megan the other day, and we were talking about some of the more serious subjects that sometimes perhaps we don't talk about. And I was asking a bunch of questions of, well, what about this? Why for this? Why for this? And she was more of the just go with the flow of like, we'll figure it out. Just take it as it goes, because that's how she is. She's more of a spur of the moment, not ask a lot of questions type of person. But I'm the little, what I can't remember what story it is, but I feel like this is from a million children's book stories, like of like a little bird that's asking a million questions of why, well, why. And sometimes I feel like that, but sometimes it's good to be like that, and sometimes it's good to let go of that why for peace of mind, but also why for the sake of making better decisions for your future, so that maybe later on in life you can ask why a little bit less.
It's funny when you deal with like kids, right? And people that have kids are listening or have nieces and nephews, which I do. You get that question, oh, why? Oh, why? And sometimes you're just like, why? Because it is that way. I mean, why do you do this? Because it is that way. Why is that this? Because it is that way. Like, so sometimes it gives you the ability to, or they give you the ability to ask those basic questions. Why do you wake up and,
but it's so existential. It really kind of wakes you up and makes you realize, hey, why am I not asking questions more? Because we do, as we get older, we stop asking questions. We just start going into routines, into what we think we need to do, and falling into states of complacency.
Yeah, I mean, it's we do this stuff. I mean, it goes back to the idea, right, that by the age of 35, right, that we're computer programmed, right? So we do the things because we've always done those things. We act this way because we've something in our life, something in our childhood. I mean, we're basically, you do this and this happens right there. And you have to kind of reprogram yourself to ask why am I doing this? Why don't I do this way? Well, if I've always done this way, is there a better way to do it? Right. And it's constantly asking that question, trying to figure out what's going to be better.
And I feel that way. I feel, and have felt lately, like I'm so programmed in, and part of that's neurologically built into me, but part of it is, I think, what you mentioned of just getting older. You hit a certain age and you're wired to do things a certain way, to minimize stress, to minimize time waste. And so we'll do the same things, same patterns, same routines. You'll fall into that state of stopping to ask the question, why?
Yeah. So what's one of your last things you've kind of like questioned and said, why?
Oh, Jesus. I mean, I've been questioning pretty much everything. The last one would be the sticker thing, because that was like a yesterday thing. I've got a lot. Well, when I think about it, I've been asking that question about everything lately. My routines of why I'm getting up at the time that I'm getting up, why I am doing the workouts that I'm doing, or why I'm changing them, because I am shifting those up a little bit, why I'm not getting the miles in terms of the running, why I am backing off of the social media a little bit. I have another little dispute going on in a matter with a former employer, and I'm asking the question of why I'm choosing to pursue that the way I am, looking at the different avenues there. Relationship-wise, definitely asking why on certain things as we continue to move forward with that, and have some changes around us. And then I think that given the pandemic, a lot of people are asking why about certain things, such as their choices in regards to a lot of the key issues there regarding masks, vaccines, going back into public, things of that nature, what should be open, what shouldn't be open. And I think that once people started speaking up their whys on that it created a lot of divisiveness, which some people fed into and dove further into. And I don't think that was necessarily a helpful thing, because I think that causes a lot of frustration and anxiety. And then I think some people just decided to stop asking and just kind of back down and be quiet about it and do their own thing.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing is going to be once this all happens, or if we start like stuff that we picked up through the pandemic and we're going to keep doing it. And then you're going to see over time, like, well, why are we doing this again? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I mean, I wonder if there's going to be like remnants of what we've gone through to ask why. But I mean, for myself, yeah, it's really been just, I mean, would just say like work stuff. I mean, it's really kind of, I mean, posting on social media. I mean, I've said this so many times where if I wasn't in the field that I'm in, the business I'm in, I don't know if I'd be on social media consistently. I mean, there's great things that can be had on there. And then there's also a lot of like, I don't know, trash. I mean, maybe that's the best word.
If
And
you're someone that has healthy relationships, which I get, all my understanding of you would lead me to believe that you do, and you have activities that you like to do, you like to go to Padre games, you like to do stuff like that, you have the family events, you work out a lot, you run a business that takes a lot of work, I could absolutely see how for someone such as yourself that maybe the why isn't necessarily worth a tremendous amount of effort for the social media.
well, I mean, the why helps. I mean, for the social media, it helps me grow. I think the thing that really gets me, and it's gonna be so bad, and it's something I probably have to work on. And I don't know anyone else here, but the thing that gets under my skin is the false bravado that people portray on social media. I mean, where they're basically blatant lies, but they're trying to make themselves seem better, and it deflates other people. I mean, that's I think the thing that gets under my skin, and maybe it's something that I really try to steer away from as much as possible when I see stuff like that. But it's saying how great I am or how this I am, and it's for me. I kind of wait away from it. I go away from it. But that's I think that the thing that really gets under my skin a little bit is when I see that stuff with saying that, hey, I'm so great, I did this. I'm so great, I did this. That's why, I mean, I'm very hesitant to post, I mean, things like that can be perceived in that light. Because for me, I mean, I'm all about trying to help someone get to the next level, right? I'm all about basically, hey, you know what? Don't worry. If you're struggling right here, if you're struggling right there, we all struggle. And it's okay to get through that. It's okay to fight through that. I mean, that's the way I look at it. That's why, I mean, I posted pictures of, I mean, in the past, I haven't done it recently, but working out, right? Where you're like, okay, fuck, I'm putting my time in. Hey, you can put your time. I mean, put your time in. I mean, and I don't think that's basically looking down upon someone, but I mean, I think there's people that post stuff that's, I mean, pretty, I mean, lying. I mean, about kind of, and maybe it's like where it's a fake picture, where it's like, I'm so excited at this event, and the next thing you know, it's like a staged picture or things like that. That's a thing that kind of, or it's the Photoshop, I mean, workout body, right? Fitness body. So now you're weighing yourself against basically that person, that body right there, that body type, which isn't a real body type. It's so I think things like that kind of get under my skin.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in certain ways that people doing that can, from one perspective, be helpful because maybe it raises the bar for you if you're that type of person. But in many cases, no, I think it does do a lot of damage, and it does create unfair comparisons. And I think that there's a quality issue where some people just happen to have larger reach, and the algorithms play into that, and control by the applications play into that. And then the other issue that I really run into, and this is another why I've been pulling away lately, is because I don't necessarily care too much for the criticism. But when I thought about why I'm doing this, I thought, I don't need this, though. I don't need to listen to the criticism. I don't need to hear that. And the criticism I'm specifically referring to is in these Facebook groups that promotes being supportive and being positive. What I found is that if you're at a certain level and you're starting out, the people are very encouraging. When you reach another level, people start to get maybe a little jealous, and people want to hate on you for it. And so I thought, you know what? I don't really need that criticism from those people when I'm doing this full time, when this is my living, when I put my all into this. I don't need people that aren't even doing what I'm doing to criticize me for that. And yesterday I shared a story, and I even debated sharing it because of my feelings lately towards social media, but I shared the anniversary dates of the assault and battery that was a big part of my art and who I am, and even where my tattoo comes from. And I shared it on Facebook and Instagram, and it got a nice response. I shared it to be encouraging and to show other people that might be going through something similar that it was possible and what you can do and how to utilize your pain and your trauma as something positive that can fuel you. And then I posted it on Nextdoor, and it was kind of against my better judgment to do so. But I thought, well, it happened here in the community. I'm going to go ahead and post it. And then there was a comment. It wasn't a terrible comment, but it was a comment from somebody that was another artist. And they said, hey, I appreciate you sharing the story, but hey, you should consider really diving in because you're an artist, and artists are supposed to be really vulnerable and share and open up. And I really feel like if you did that it would really help you. And I'm thinking, okay, did this guy see the link that I posted beneath my very short excerpt because I didn't want to bombard people with more information than they wanted? Did he see the link that took them to the blog post that has more information? Did he see the videos with the news coverage that also talk about it? I mean, what more did he want? You're never going to make everybody happy, but it was just like one of those like left-handed things of like to accuse me of being somebody that doesn't open up. What more can I open up about than putting my news stories and my personal information and the backstory of this experience with photos of me from the hospital?
I mean, I could be totally mistaken, but maybe what happened is, and I've done this before, where I see a post, right, that I'm not really sure how to respond to it. It kind of gets your emotions, but you're like, well, what can I really say to it that's going to add to the story, right? And so it could be a basic comment or whatever it might be. And so you kind of leave it by the wayside and you kind of go to another one. But then it comes back to your feed because it's getting a lot of interaction. And you're like, God dang, man, I kind of want to say something because I saw it before and I want to say something to it. And you're like, okay, well, I can say something to it. But maybe now the second time you've gone through it, you maybe don't read it fully or read it fast or the whole excerpt or whatever it is. And you're just like, oh gosh, okay, I already kind of read this before, but I didn't respond to it. But now I'm going to kind of go through it again and I'm going to comment on it. And so it's kind of almost like a fast response where maybe they didn't read the full excerpt and they didn't understand there was more to the story or more links to it. And so they were kind of going really quick. So I would assume it's more that direction where they basically maybe saw it one time, they didn't really comment on it, they saw it a second time, and they basically didn't go fully into the excerpts, into the writing. And
their response was lengthy though, like it was a full paragraph. Actually, it was like multiple things, like broken up into several paragraphs.
Oh, okay.
And so I was just curious. I'm like, maybe this is just the type of person that wants a certain level of detail or something like that. Because based on their level and length of response, I'm thinking this person invested a lot of time, but I don't feel like they invested enough time to check the link. And I've seen a lot of criticism of things like that on social media where there will be a headline and people will comment based on the headline, but they clearly didn't read the article or read the information. And so then in the comments, they'll get torn apart and ripped at for, hey, did you even read the article? Because it has all that information. So I just politely said, there's a link to more on the story and videos. But the other thing is I thought about why, and I thought, well, I shared this story for those that would help. And I thought there will be people that are just going to find something about anything. And when I think about why I do things, I do it to help myself, to get it out of me, but also to help others on their journey and their experience. And in doing so, you're going to be judged along the way by people that just aren't going to understand because they have different personality types, different understandings. There are going to be people that read everything that you do. There are going to be people that read nothing you do. There are going to be people that hate on things you do. There are going to be people that love everything that you do. And so it is what it is. So I was content with leaving it at that. I thought, why am I going to comment at all? And I thought, well, they put a little bit of time into it. Just politely say, hey, there's more to it if you want to look. If that's not enough for them, well, that's okay.
They could have been piggybacking on the interaction that you're already getting on the post. I mean, I've seen that before too, where people will comment on a post and try to like almost piggyback on it, so they get comments on their comment, or they get likes on their on their comment, and or they get people trying to follow them. They're like, wow, this person, they seem like they know a lot about it. They're like the guru of, in this way, art. And instead of diving deeper into Carini's thing, I need to dive deeper into this guy's thing.
I didn't even realize that was a thing until Megan pointed that out to me. And she told me that she goes on TikTok almost exclusively for the comment threads. And it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, what? And she said, yeah, the comment threads are gold. Like you go on there and you look at the comments and look how many likes there are on comments. sometimes there's far more likes on comments and far more interaction with comments than there are on the actual post. So yeah, I think that there's people that go on specifically trying to troll in some cases, or trying to, because some people will just take the negative in attention because they think, hey, if I can get any attention whatsoever, it's attention. So sometimes, yeah, having that type of brash, harsh reaction to something, which in this case, it really wasn't brash or harsh. It was just a case of, I don't feel like they fully read it, or I don't feel like even if they did read it, that there's somebody that I'm going to be able to appease. I feel like they were somebody that was going to want to offer guidance and criticism. And I just think why, when it comes to that too, because it's so funny how oftentimes people with less experience and less success in certain areas, and I'm not saying that's the case here, but oftentimes in life, people with less experience and less success in certain areas want to give guidance and tutorials on how to do something. But oftentimes it's the people that aren't really doing anything at all that just want to talk and give guidance. And so I think it's important to do.
Well, you reaffirm who you are. I mean, like, let's say artwork, right? Or let's say artwork, right? If I took a class, or I took a couple classes of artwork, right, and I understand the difference between this art and that art and this art and that art, right? And someone brings the idea of art, right? I mean, I might feel like I'm not as smart as in the art sector than these other people are in this community. Yet as soon as basically art works and I hear something that's a topic that I kind of know about, I'm going to almost prove my worth to all you other kind of artists and say, see, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. So yeah. I think you're trying to almost compensate a little bit.
Yeah. Show your merit. Yeah. Yeah. And that's understandable. And I don't think that people should be judged for knowing less, because how do you learn more? By talking, having a dialogue. So that I agree with. I think that anybody, when it comes to things such as art in particular, whether you have a lot of experience or not, you should be welcomed to the conversation to be able to talk about what you want to talk about, to be able to have a dialogue there. And I don't think that when it comes to talking about things like that, I think it comes more to when you start making judgments or giving unsolicited advice of what somebody that is a professional should do. I think that then it just starts to get a little silly, but it happens. But in terms of just casual conversations, I feel like the only way people are going to grow as a culture, the only way that we're going to develop is to have more conversations about things. But I think so many people are gun shy, and I know I'm gun shy about it. A lot of times if I don't know about something, I just shut the hell up, because I see all the way that people are attacked on social media. And I think I just, for mental health sake and anxiety, I don't want to get involved in those types of conversations where somebody tears me down when it doesn't need to be done.
You know what? When me and you have a conversation, or one person to another person, or two people to a person, usually a one person to one person, right? I could be curious, and I can ask you a question, and you'd probably, for the most part, right, not laugh at me for asking the question, right? I can be vulnerable and be curious in what you're providing, right? Yet if I post a comment on social media, there's probably going to be a couple people, if it's a stupid question, that'll call me out on it, right? So I think having dialogue, we're actually a one-on-one conversation with another person, and just being curious. I mean, if you can at least be curious, like that child is, right, that's asking why, I think we'd be a lot better off.
That's so true. I think that public forum adds this certain pressure, or these unspoken rules where it changes everything. And I think that perhaps, I think you may have really hit the nail on what one of the biggest problems we have as a culture is it's no longer face-to-face, one-on-one communication with certain levels of accountability and general curiosity. It's more, like you said, even when people are commenting or asking questions on things, a lot of times they're doing it just to try to get traction back to their thing.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we went off a lot of different tangents right there. What's the why that you ask yourself? What's the why out there that makes you curious? What's that why?
Why your breath is butt in my face right now?
That's definitely a why. Thank you for listening, guys. Please subscribe. Please share. If you want, join us live Wednesday mornings on YouTube, sunny side of San Diego, with Vinnie and Carini.
7:15 Pacific Standard Time.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.